By the early 1990s, Jenkins and McKenna became more and more convinced that the end date of the Mayan 13 Baktun cycle was linked with the conjunction of the Sun with the intersection of the ecliptic and the plane of the Milky Way. Such an alignment is a major astronomical event. One can only stand in admiration that the Maya were aware of this, centuries before science was able to confirm this fact. And what to make of the coincidence of our physicists' discovery of a black hole at the center of our galaxy and the Mayan belief in a great black hole in the very same spot?
Now, there are several implications which we need to take into account with this one. First of all, a black hole is of course a singularity, and second, the symbolism has worked its way into Mayan mythology.
McKenna used this symbolism when he wrote, "Over millennia, the Maya observed the drama of the approach of Father Sun toward the vagina of Mother Sky, and though the cosmic event itself was calculated to occur many centuries in the future, the Maya made the future conjunction the anchor point of their machinery of cosmic timekeeping. Their myth chose our time as the quintessential moment of creation." A year before his own death, McKenna wrote how the world was perhaps not meant to end, but was to be born on December 21, 2012. This coincides with John Major Jenkins' conclusion that the ancient Maya understood something about the nature of the cosmos and the spiritual evolution of humanity that has gone unrecognized in our own worldview. This understanding involves our alignment with the center of our galaxy, our cosmic center and source, and identifies 2012 AD as a time of tremendous transformation and opportunity for spiritual growth, a transition from one world age to another.
Some years ago, Daniel Brinkley had a near-death experience. He was speaking on the telephone, I think it was 1975, and a huge bolt of lightning hit the telephone line and threw his body physically up to the ceiling, and then it crashed to the floor, and from that point on he was out of body. In the ambulance, he was floating above his body still, and then a tunnel opened up in front of him, and he went down the tunnel into a really bright light and was confronted by a bright silver being, and then he relived, he had a life recall experience, after which he was taken to see a group of these 12 beings surrounding a 13th, and then they each presented him in turn a screen on which he saw scenes from the future. And there are over 300 scenes from the future between 1975 and 2012 to 2014 was when the series ended. And those scenes included things like the fall of the Berlin Wall and the explosion of the nuclear power plant at Chernobyl, well before they actually occurred. And by year 2000, there was only about 17 of these huge world events left to occur that he'd foreseen back in 1975. And they finish off with something that he says is a window of opportunity for mankind to evolve, but it will also be, there'll be a geomagnetic reversal of the Earth between 2012 and 2014, and that previous to that the Earth changes will escalate, but that this will not just be a series of catastrophes, but will also be the side effects of this window of opportunity, an evolutionary jump for mankind. And this sounds remarkably like what a Siberian geologist called Alexei Dmitriev has come up with. Dmitriev has shown that there are changes not only on planet Earth with our meteorological changes that we're seeing now, but that these are actually happening throughout the whole system, the solar system, on every planet in the solar system. Atmospheric and magnetic changes are happening. And he's also said that there's a build-up of interstellar plasma on the edge of the heliosphere. So Dmitriev says that we are, like Daniel Brinkley says, that we're heading into a new energetic area of space, and this is a sort of plasma cloud of charged magnetized plasma, and that this is seeping through from the edge of the heliosphere to the sun, where it is causing increased solar activity, and that's coming out on the solar equatorial plane and affecting all the planets and causing all these changes. Dmitriev also predicts, like Brinkley, that it will result in a geomagnetic reversal and an encounter with something beyond our normal third-dimensional experience. He said it was causing a spontaneous mass evolution of mankind as we now know it. And it correlates so closely to what was seen by Brinkley that I think it's very significant.
So on December 21st, 2012, in the region where the sun is aligning with the heart of the Milky Way, known as the galactic center, we will encounter a feature known as the Dark Rift. This is known to be interstellar dust. In the Mayan creation mythology, this is called the Xibalba Bay, the road to the underworld.
Now this is where a lot of pieces begin to fall into place. First of all, the 9 gods are said to return. And for one thing, for this to work, for them to return, we need to have a hero. A hero will pierce through our dimension and this underworld. And what will happen is that he will create a gateway, a stargate, a doorway, something whereby the two worlds connect. And the hero is all about sacrifice. He will sacrifice himself. He will go onto this voyage. And through this voyage, the gods will be able to return. So what we're looking for, what is needed, is a new hero.
So the Hopi people who live in Arizona, they say that we are in the 4th world and that we're currently approaching the transition to a 5th world. Now the Hopi, it's thought that they were descended from the Anasazi people, who in turn descended from the Aztecs, and the Hopi's system of a series of worlds is similar to that which the Aztecs believed in, except the Aztecs said we were in the 5th, what they call the sun rather than the world, the 5th sun approaching the 6th sun, and to the Hopis we're in the 4th world approaching the 5th world. But they saw them as past eras that ended in destruction, but that there's an evolutionary progression at each time a new world is created.
Twyla Nitsch, a Seneca elder of the Wolf clan, inherited the teachings of her grandfather, who died in 1925. She says her grandfather foresaw a 25-year period of purification leading up to the year 2012, when the earth will purge itself. This corresponds to Hopi prophecy that the earth will go through a great purification at the start of the 5th world. Speaking Wind, a Pueblo Native American from northern New Mexico, adds that there will be a 12-year purification leading up to the year 2012. That date is recorded in his tribe's star calendars.
Credo Mutwa is a Sanazi, a Zulu Sanazi, which is a shaman, and he says that a long time ago a huge planet came into the area of our solar system and that it caused destruction and tidal waves, and it's known as Mushosho Nono. And he also says that it's due to return in the year of the Red Bull, and the year of the Red Bull is 2012. The Maori have a creation myth in which they say that years ago, at the beginning, the earth was down here and the sky was up here. That's Rangi and Papa, the two gods, were actually in a close embrace, one tightly on top of the other, and that as a result of that embrace, they had children, and the children pushed their parents apart, and that's why the sky is up there and the earth is down here. One of those gods was called Tain, the god of war, and mankind is known as the children of Tain. And they say that one day when mankind is distracted and doesn't remember the old myths and the gods anymore, that the two gods will take the opportunity to crash back together again, and the earth and the sky will crash back together, and they call that the curtain will fall, which sounds like it's the end of the play and it's all over. But one of the young Maoris then got to interview the old Maoris, and it turned out that two of the words in this curtain will fall phrase have actually mutated over the years, and originally the word for curtain should have been veil, and the word for fall should have been dissolve. So they're saying the veil will dissolve, and that word veil is the same word that they use for the veil between life and death. So it's indicating crossing of our normal perceptual boundaries beyond the third dimension into that realm beyond death. There's a Peruvian spiritual messenger called Walaru Hueta. He says that the Peruvian calendar will end in 2013 when a huge magnetic asteroid comes into the solar system and causes mass death and purification.
Now, the interesting thing about 2012 is actually that we have a bit of a synchronicity, or perhaps it's just a coincidence. It's the end of the calendar, and it's also known to be a galactic alignment and a high peak of sunspot activity. Whether this is coincidence or design is something which is probably a religious debate rather than a scientific one, but it's a fact that researchers like Patrick Garill, who've been working on 2012 in extreme detail, actually believe that the sunspot cycle of 2012 will be causing so many disasters that 2012, the Mayan prophecy of 2012, is all about this. It's a warning. And interestingly enough, it's also a theme which has been explored in a movie called Knowing, whereby science actually discovers that 2012, even though it's not said as such, but that we do live in a time whereby the sun will cause the end of civilization, if not the end of the world as such, and that this is a planetary phenomenon. So coincidence or synchronicity, nobody knows, but it is an interesting overlapping of events.